Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to day 2 of the No More Shit 5-day challenge. Today, we're going to be breaking into shame and how shame affects you. This is something that a lot of people struggle with, but a lot of people who are walking in shame, feeling shame, are not open about feeling ashamed. So, we're going to talk about shame today because shame really people who struggle with shame struggle with honesty. People who feel shame, they struggle with being honest about stuff. People lie for one of three reasons. One, because they don't want to get in trouble. Two, because they don't want to look bad. And three, because they don't want to make somebody else feel bad, right? And shame is a big part of why people lie. People who feel shame struggle with honesty. So I want us to really talk about shame tonight, right? We're going to continue on the journey of how shit holds you back emotionally. And so we're talking about no more shit. It's time to let the shit go. Shame, hurt, insecurities, and triggers so you can truly show up vulnerable in your life. I'm going live on TikTok and on YouTube. So I'm looking back at two cameras tonight. But yesterday we explored the importance of letting go of shit. And shit is an acronym. Shame, hurt, insecurities, and triggers. And today we're diving deeper into the first part of the shit, which is shame. Shame is a very powerful emotion, and it often operates in the shadows. When we feel ashamed of things, we have a tendency to feel like we need to hide. We obscure, we wear masks. A lot of people are dealing right now with imposter syndrome. They're feeling ashamed of where they are in life, feeling like they should be so much further ahead. They're ashamed of the decisions and choices that they made in life, and I totally get it. But when we're operating in the shadow because of shame, and we're allowing that to influence our thoughts and our actions and how we see ourselves, it can come from many places. Past mistakes, harsh criticism, judgment, unmet expectations. Like felt shame for a long time when I was younger, and it came in from feeling, completely rejected by my dad, always feeling like I wasn't good enough, feeling like I didn't have the support of people, always feeling like nobody understood me, and always feeling criticized and always feeling judged. And then you go through things because in life we make mistakes, but I believe that our mistakes are lead us into life lessons, right? And it's important that we learn from mistakes rather than sitting in them and allowing them to overpower us, because we internalize so much from society and those around us. So many people are walking under the banner of what somebody else has said they are, how somebody else has made them feel. And we need to give ourselves permission to show up in our life authentically, understanding that you're going to make errors in life. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to do things that maybe someone told you not to do, or something that you didn't even want to do. I remember when I was 16 years old, I got pregnant out of wedlock for my first boyfriend, right? Never wanted to have a child out of wedlock and didn't feel like I was prepared to be able to have a child. And so I made the decision to terminate that pregnancy. And I felt shame about that. I carried that burden for a long time by myself, because I grew up in a predominantly Christian nation, right? The Bahamas is a Christian nation. So we don't even have any other influences of religion. And there's a lot of shame sometimes around Christianity and being in the church, right? We feel like we can't be free and authentic with who we are and the things that we feel, but we have to understand that life's for everybody. I had a conversation with a young man who called me today, and he's kind of struggling with some things. He lost someone who was very close to him last year. He's a newly married, newly father, and just not feeling adequate in a lot of things with regards to himself. And we all go through that. He's in his 20s. When you're in your 20s, that's when you full of shit, full of shame, hurt, insecurities, and triggers. Think that you should have it all together. Think that you should know everything. Realize that you don't know everything. Recognize that you might not be able to talk to people about it, or you feel like you're going to be judged by people and stuff. But we all deal with shit in our life, and the shame aspect is something that really keeps us hidden, right? We suffer with self-worth and seeing ourselves with value when we struggle with shame. And when we struggle with shame, a lot of people don't like to say that they're ashamed, because society puts so much pressure and burden on people to be at a certain place. I remember when I turned 30, I did not do it well at all, because I felt like I should have been so much further ahead than I was. But in your 30s, that's a season of figuring out your shit and releasing the shit that no longer serves you. There's nobody walking the face of earth who has it all together. We're all learning. We're all constantly evolving. right? But here's the truth. Shame does not define you, and you should not allow shame to define you. It's not a reflection of your value or who you are at your core. So today we're going to unpack how shame enters our lives, how it impacts us, and most importantly, how we can choose to confront it, release it, and reclaim our self-worth. So tonight, this is a space for honesty, for reflection, and growth. And as we talk about shame, I want you to feel empowered to name it, to face it, and to begin to let it go. Remember, you are not alone in this. We are more alike than we are different. We all deal with very similar emotions. How we process them is sometimes different, but we're in this together. And the work that we're going to do today is a powerful step towards freeing yourself from the chains of shame, because shame will keep you bound. Shame will keep you down. Shame will keep you limited. So let's get ready to shine a light on the shame. Let's face the shit so that we can erase the shit. It's time to release it. Release it out of your heart. So if you're ready to release it, then you're in the right place. We're going to do this tonight. Now, I'm not really looking at comments tonight because I am going live on YouTube and on TikTok. And I just really want to be able to kind of like focus with the message that I want to bring forth today. But if you're dealing with some shit and you feel like you need some help, or you have some questions, or you have some comments, take down my email address, Denika@DenikaCarothers.com. And I would be more than willing to have a conversation with you, right? Denika@DenikaCarothers.com is my email. It's how you can reach me. But I won't really be dealing with comments tonight. I'll look at the comments towards the end, but I'm not going to really be able to see the comments because especially on TikTok, there's a lot of activity that's going on, right? And I just kind of want to give honor and respect to this space because I really want to help people to uncover some shit, to discover the true aspect of who they are, discover your self-worth, discover your value, discover what sets you apart, discover why you might have gone through the things that you have gone through. Because I believe that everything that we deal with in life is purposeful. It guides us towards a bigger purpose, right? So let's talk about where shame comes from. So often shame stems from negative experiences, right? And a lot of times that comes through criticism, rejection, or feeling inadequate, especially during our formative years. I say it this way. All of our shit, shame, hurt, insecurities, and triggers comes in by way of relationships. And most of our shit comes in our childhood experiences, through our childhood relationships. I mean, we can see that now. You know, with a lot of people who are on the public stage, we can see that now. And if you look back at someone's childhood, a lot of times it helps you to be compassionate and to have empathy as to why people are the way that they are. Because a lot of people are stuck in that childhood pain, that childhood shame, those childhood hurts, those childhood insecurities. And a lot of people, if they're operating in a place of shame, they don't really feel free to have these conversations with people. We feel this need to hide things away from people, right? But again, we got to expose it in order to disrupt it and get it out of there. If you have a medical condition going on, you have to first acknowledge that something is going on, then you got to go seek help, and then you have to be willing to do the protocol in order for the healing to take place, or for the disease or infection or whatever to clear itself out of your system. And I just feel like we're getting back to this place where we are learning how to give ourselves permission to be authentic about who we truly are. You know, you got to be real with who you are, because people can feel your energy anyway, right? And shame impacts your self-worth. You don't feel like you're enough when you feel shamed about stuff. And we see this showing up in a lot of relationships because shame attacks your self-esteem. And it makes you feel unworthy, it makes you feel unlovable, and it makes you feel disconnected from your true self. But this is one of the things I learned a long time ago. If I expose my shit, then I'm not even concerned about somebody else talking about it. You know, when you are honest with yourself about who you are, it helps you to be honest with other people. But if you're not honest with yourself about who you are, you're never going to be honest with other people. And this is one of the big challenges in relationships, because everybody's coming in wearing masks. Everybody's letting their representative come to the table. You know, I had a client a couple of years ago, and one of the things that she discovered through our working together is that the true her never showed up in any of her relationships. She was such a people pleaser because she felt ashamed of who she was. She felt ashamed of being 30 something and still being single. And so she really wasn't being authentic to herself. So she couldn't be authentic to anybody else. And even though she was a doctor, she had a doctorate, right, in pharmaceutical, but she still didn't feel adequate within herself. And she didn't feel like she could be who she was with other people. And so recognizing that the real her never showed up in any of her relationships was really like a profound moment for her. And she gave herself permission to really fall in love with herself, right? We don't have any reason to be ashamed with ourselves. Because when we're operating in shame, another thing that happens is we isolate ourselves emotionally. We withdraw from others because we fear being judged by other people. That was me. I hated being seen because I felt like I was going to be judged by everybody who saw me and criticized, because that was my experience as a child. I had that experience from my father. I had that experience from male teachers specifically. And for me, I felt like a lot of my opposition came in from males rather than females. And it's because my mother and I were very close. She was very supportive. She always uplifted me. I always felt encouraged by her. Whereas my father, he was dealing with some other stuff, right? When I came along, fourth daughter, he wanted a son. So he didn't even know how to embrace me because he was so disappointed. And so a lot of times we allow ourselves to be affected by other people's shit. So we're carrying the shit of other people and we're being affected by other people's shit, and it causes us to isolate ourselves. It causes us to keep ourselves from the things that we want, especially as it pertains to relationships, because we're afraid of what we might experience from somebody else. And it's not being fair to you, right? Because you deserve to feel like you are enough. But nobody can make you feel that way. That is something that you have to give to yourself. And then, when people are perfectionists and they feel like they're not good enough, then that affects them. They can't show up powerfully because to cope with the shame, they're developing these perfectionist tendencies, constantly striving to be good enough to avoid feelings of inadequacy, but yet not really feeling good enough. And again, so many people look to other people to make them feel loved, to make them feel happy, to make them feel worthy, to make them feel valuable. But when you give somebody else the power to make you feel all of those things, you also give them the power to make you not feel those things. And so learning to love yourself, learning to tap into your enoughness, learning to tap into your value. We see it now, like, people just attack people so much. And we got to move away from that. But I get it, because that's how I used to fight when I was a teenager. I fought with my words. And it's because I had so much hurt going on the inside. It's because I felt inadequate on the inside. So I attacked whenever I felt like I was being judged or criticized by someone. I could be very mean with my words as a teenager. But in order for me to transcend that and transform, I had to be willing to sit with myself. I had to be willing to find the good in me. And you have to be willing to find the good in you. Because if you don't, then you just continue on with cycles of shame. And then you're triggered. You're easily triggered by something that somebody else does. So trigger, that's the T in shit. And we're going to talk about that on the 5th day, which is going to be Friday. But there are so many people around just now, they just triggered by everything someone says and everything that someone does. But that other person external to you is simply reflecting something that's happening on the inside of you. I had a conversation with a young lady today, and she was talking about how her brother, was getting constantly on her about, her putting on some weight. But what he is really doing is he is projecting onto her how he feels, because he has severe body dysmorphia. Even though he has lost a lot of weight, he has body dysmorphia, and now he's projecting his insecurities on her, right? If you don't feel good about yourself, you're always going to see something wrong with somebody else. And situations, people, memories can trigger shame. And it leads to a cycle of, criticizing yourself and feeling emotionally pained. But you got to heal that stuff within you, because it's really not the other person. That person is just a reflection. They are just holding a mirror up to you. And that's what our relationships do. But now, everyone is so focused on things external. That's why we have a lot of broken people walking around who are full of shit. full of shame, hurt, insecurities, and triggers because they're not willing to look at themselves. You want to look at everybody else, and you don't know anything about anybody else. You don't know why they do what they do. You don't know how they got to where they are. You know you. There's a particular scripture in the Bible that I love. It talks about, stop trying to take, and I paraphrase it because I'm from the Bahamas. Stop trying to take the 2x4, the plank of wood out of somebody else's eye. Sorry, stop looking at the speck of dust in somebody else's eye when you have a plank or a 2x4 in your eye. And with the 2x4 in your eye, you can't even really see clearly what's happening with somebody else. But this is the world that we seem to have created, and it's time for us to shift the paradigm and start going inside, because the only person that we truly have control over is ourselves. And when you don't heal, you continue to cycle triggers. You continue to be affected by things other people do. You continue to give your power away. You continue to feel powerless and act powerless, right? Because you just ugly in your energy, but it's because you feel so much hurt, so much shame, so insecure on the inside, right? So we're talking this week about no more shit and letting the shit go. And tonight we're talking about shame in particular. And these energies and emotions, they show up in your body physically as well. They're a physical manifestation. Shame can manifest physically, causing symptoms. And the symptoms that shame can cause are fatigue, headaches, or even chronic health issues due to the stress it generates, because you're trying to carry so much on the inside of you rather than letting it go. I say this all the time. Shit is better out than in. A very close friend of mine, her mother has been dealing with some bowel issues, not being able to release the shit. And what has been causing is her stomach to be very hard and very impacted and bulging out, right? And so when we carry these emotional pains, when we refuse to let them go, those emotions are storing up in our body, creating blocked energy, because emotion is simply energy in motion. And so when you are not giving the energy the opportunity to move the way that it needs to move, then it's storing in your body as blocked energy, and it's causing physical manifestations, physical symptoms, right? And so we have to be willing to sit with the stuff. If somebody else is triggering you in some way, they're simply reflecting to you something that you need to look deeper into in yourself. If everybody else is always making you mad, you're always getting frustrated and stressed out over what somebody else is doing, you're giving all of your power to that other person. And so healing needs to take place, right? And when you're carrying all the shit, tonight we're talking about the shame. When you feel shamed about stuff, it's impacting your relationships, because shame can create barriers in relationships, because then you struggle to trust others, or you fear being vulnerable. And when you operate that way, it prevents a true connection. Nowadays, I was watching something the other day, and he said, spending time with someone watching a movie, that's not intimacy. That's not giving yourself an opportunity to connect with that person. But so many people don't have conversations. They're afraid to talk. They don't look each other in the eye. They're afraid of what other people are going to see in them. But you only carry that fear when you don't feel adequate within yourself. And so it affects the way that you show up with others. And so it affects the way that you show up in your relationships. It impacts your relationships. Shit impacts your relationships. Tomorrow night, we're going to talk about hurt. We're going to break hurt down and talk about how that impacts your relationships. But whenever you are dealing with any emotional trauma, any emotional disconnect, any heartache, heartbreak, grief, loss, abuse, you got to heal. You have to give healing to yourself, because you know that something is wrong within you. Spoke with someone earlier today, and he was saying that he lost his aunt last year in October. And I knew her very well. And apparently she died in her sleep, but she had a liver condition and nobody knew that she was sick. And when, she was questioned about it, because, it was showing up, the manifestations of not being well was showing up, but she didn't say that something was wrong. And then she died in her sleep, right? And I know this person, and I know this person really contained a lot of stuff, didn't express a lot of things. I'm telling you again, shit is better out than it is in. And we have to heal. And the only way we can heal is through awareness. So the first step to overcoming shame is recognizing its presence in your life and understanding that it does not define your worth. Okay, you did something that you might not be proud of. You did something that you might be ashamed of. Something happened in your life and you feel a lot of shame as a result of it. People who have been physically, sexually abused, men and women, carry a lot of shame around that. But when you don't let that shit go, that affects you and it affects you deeply. I've had several clients who, we've done work together because of the sexual abuse, brought that up. But because I'm very intuitive, there are things I'm going to tap into. So I can help you because I'm going to tap into some stuff, but you got to be willing to let the shit go, right? You recognize when you need to use the bathroom. So you're the one who needs to get up and you need to go to the bathroom. Because if you don't go to the bathroom, then the shit that you continue to retain and hold on to is affecting you, right? So you're going to heal through awareness, being aware that there's some stuff that you're holding on to. There's some emotional baggage. There's some things that you have experienced in the past that are still affecting you today. That you're mean to other people, that you're nasty to other people, that you don't trust other people because of things that have happened in the past. You have these guards up, you have these walls up, you have these barriers up. You will not let anybody get close to you because of the pain that you've experienced in the past. You got to let that shit go because the person who is in bondage is you. I know I was the fastest wall builder in my 20s. I would put up an emotional wall in 0.2 seconds. And my wall had gotten so high and so thick that it was so hard to break it down. And so I had to go and get counseling because sometimes we need assistance. We've done such an amazing job of building up these barriers and these walls, but we feel stuck and we feel not free, right? And freedom is when you're no longer attached to the thing. But liberation is when you're no longer bound by the thing. So there's a lot of people who are free. You left the relationship. You've left the family members. You've moved from your city where you were born. So you're no longer attached that way, but you're still bound. You're still thinking about them all the time. You're still being affected emotionally. Whenever you have a thought, you can't move forward because you're still holding on to things that have happened in the past. Too many people are denying themselves happiness, joy, peace, and love because they're still so steeped in what had happened was. The woulda, shoulda, coulda. Focusing on woulda, coulda, shoulda, that's not serving you because you can't do anything about what has happened. You can only do something about how you choose to experience it in the moment. And your perspective can be your power or it can be your prison. Again, how you see a thing is how you will experience the thing. And so if you are holding on to shit, tonight we're talking about shame, then the person who's going to benefit the most by letting that shit go, by saying no more shit, is you. Because you keep yourself in a box, encased emotionally, heavy emotionally. Not free to love, not free to live, not free to laugh. Oh my God. Like just people, they just have such a sour look on their face nowadays. Like people just look so angry, and I'm a person, whenever I see somebody like that, I will always go talk to them. It's like, your smile is too beautiful for you not to be using your teeth today. Why are you not showing your teeth today? And sometimes it just takes something very small to break the ice with someone. I feel like we just need to be more concerned about each other. The rate of suicide is at an all-time high because people are dealing with emotional pains all alone, feeling like they don't have anybody or feeling like they can't talk to anybody. And that's what shame will do. Shame will keep you silent. Shame will keep you stuck. Shame will keep you in darkness. Shame will keep you unhappy. Shame will keep you feeling lonely, right? So you got to say no more shit. You have to be willing to let the shit go. And when you choose to release shame, you choose to confront, release, and embrace self-compassion. When you no longer hold shame over yourself, now you can be compassionate with yourself. Because like a lot of times, things that we do that create shame, We do that when we're younger. We do that when we're going through stuff. We do that when we're not really wise to what's happening, right? But when you choose to release the shame, you give yourself the opportunity to challenge the negative beliefs, because 90% of what we believe is not even our beliefs. It's been conditioned. And nowadays, people just listen to what everybody else says rather than fact check, rather than doing some research. You know, even the Bible says, study to show yourself approved unto God. Do some research. A workman needing not to be ashamed, but rightly dividing the word of truth. If we have to rightly divide something, that means, if we have to rightly divide the word of truth, then that means that there's some untruth, and we're rightly dividing to uncover and discover the truth. And what's important for each individual is that you discover the truth of your own life. You discover what you need to let go of. What is affecting you? What is affecting you mentally? What is affecting you emotionally? What is affecting you spiritually? What is affecting you in your health? What is affecting you with other people? What's affecting you? Because if you don't deal with what's affecting you, you're going to be infected. And then you're going to be a problem for yourself and for other people as well, right? If you're dealing with some shit, seek some support to heal so that you can reclaim your value and your self-worth. You know, people who are bullies are very insecure people. People who are always criticizing and judging other people, they're very insecure people. And them looking at other people and criticizing and judging other people is so that they don't have to look at themselves. But you can't do anything about anybody else. You can't change anybody else. You cannot affect anybody else. You can't impact anybody else, influence anybody else if they don't want to be impacted, influenced, affected. The only person who you have true control and power over the actions of, the thoughts of, the feelings of, is yourself. And so if you are full of shit, shame, hurt, insecurities, and triggers, then it's time for you to let it go. So this week is my 5-day challenge. No more shit. No more shame, hurt, insecurities, and triggers. It's time to heal. It's time to let go. It's time to forgive. It's time to laugh again. It's time to love yourself. It's time to discover who you are. Uncover the things that are holding you back from being the greatest version of yourself. You owe that to yourself. And if you don't give love and light and goodness and happiness and joy and peace to yourself, nobody else is going to do that for you. You're not going to find it outside of yourself if you haven't learned how to create and cultivate it within. But in order to grow a healthy, beautiful, flourishing garden, it requires you getting rid of some stuff. You have to prune. You got to till the soil, right? You literally got to stir up some stuff. You got to let some things go. You got to throw some things out. You have to disconnect from some things. But before you get to that place, we got to sit with you. We have to discover what it is that's operating on the inside of you that is creating blocks to your peace, to your joy, to your happiness, to your love, to your wholeness, to your healthiness. And so if you're sick, if fibromyalgia is a symptom, is an extension, it's a manifestation of emotional challenges and issues. Fibromyalgia is something they diagnose you with when they can't find a real symptom, because it's really all energy that's blocked, but it's really creating physical ailments or diseases because you are at a dis-ease within. And things are changing now. I believe that everything that's happening in the world today is giving us an opportunity to just really come to ourselves. Because if I don't, listen to me, if I don't feel good with me, I'm not going to feel good with you. And vice versa. It's time for us to feel good again. It's time for us to love life and to be excited about it and look forward to living it every day, right? So today we delved into the shame of the shit. SHIT is an acronym for shame, hurt, insecurities, and triggers. And today we talked about letting the shame go. And tomorrow we're going to be talking about hurt, letting the hurt go, understanding where it comes from, how it's affecting us, and how we can let it go. So again, I was not really dealing with comments coming in. Let me see if there's anything that I need to address. Thank you everybody for joining the live. I appreciate it. But like I said, if you want to reach out to me, you can reach me through email, Denika at denikacarothers.com, and I'd be more than happy to have a conversation with you. Or you can go to my website, denikacarothers.com, and you can schedule a session there. But we're going to continue tomorrow talking about hurt. So if you know anybody who's dealing with some shit, if you know anyone who's having a hard time letting some shit go in their life, letting the past go, letting the hurt go, letting the disappointment go, letting the rejection go, letting the anger go, right? That has come on the other side of some relationship stuff, then, let them know about this live this week, 5-day challenge, no more shit. Let the shit go. And I'm Denika Carothers, and I talk shit, shame, hurt, insecurities, and triggers. I help you to let the shit go because shit is better out than in. Better out than in, right? You do yourself good. There's nothing like taking a good dump, like physically, right? Like, have you ever like taken a good dump and you came out the bathroom, you're like, oh my God, that was such a good dump. Well, it's the same way when you dump all that emotional shit. Give yourself an opportunity to do that, okay? I'll be back here tomorrow, 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time, live on TikTok, live on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. And hopefully this has been helpful to you. If it has been helpful to you, send me an email or send me a direct message and let me know. Or if you have any questions, anything you're dealing with. Hi, Taryn. Hi, my Serenity, that you really just didn't want to talk about here with everybody else because you got some shame that you're dealing with, right? Then send me an email or send me a direct message, and I'd love to be able to support you to let your shit go. All right? I'll see you tomorrow night, 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time, same bad time, same bad channel. Have a good night.